What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Checkout. It is the podcast where I gather a group of people that I would start a company with if I could start a company with anybody, but everybody's too busy, so we do a podcast instead. Really important, exciting episode this week. We've been dodging this topic like a freaking X dodging my texts. We have not. It's like anytime it even comes up a little bit, we've been like, don't. But I'm glad we're attacking it now with intention because we have Stephen, founder of Cuts. Stephen, pronounce your last name for me.
Borrelli.
Stephen Borrelli. That's exactly how it's spelled. I should have just guessed.
Two R's, two L's.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a gunslinger out here though. So Stephen Borrelli, founder of Cuts, went viral a couple weeks back now with sort of an open letter to the administration on tariffs and how we're moving too fast and several things. So, let's start there. Stephen, if you want to kind of give me like what has happened since, like, has anyone reached out to you? Has there been any, do you feel any level of hope since having gotten that level of exposure?
I want to tell you some things that we were learning about the Breeze website that was costing us a bunch of money that we actually didn't know until we installed a heat map. On our product page, we have bullet points that looked like buttons. We had elements that looked like buttons that you actually can't click. And we were finding out that we were literally losing money because the navigation was so unclear that to the thousands of dollars because of the amount of traffic we're spending, we weren't able to find success. And so heatmap.com was able to kind of highlight and tell us exactly where these users were clicking. And we made that immediate change. Then we saw on heatmap that like we had product tiles where people were navigating to kind of add to cart or learn more about the products. It's too far down on the page, but majority of the revenue is starting and driven from those specific tiles. And by us just moving those up the page so it's less of a scroll on mobile, we're able to drive almost 2 times the revenue from the same exact amount of traffic. That, again, was only coming from heatmap. I think that's super powerful because it's able to track specific dollars per element on your website, and no other thing in the world can do this. Not that I know. And so this is why it's easy enough for me to use or our CRO to use. There's no negotiation. There's no back and forth. It's either making us money or it's losing us money. And it's the reason why I'm super thankful for the heat map team to be a part of this crew. And if you want to try it for 14 days, free of charge, worst case, doesn't work for you. Best case, you make a bunch of money, you save a bunch of money. It's a win all around. Hope you guys try it out.
Well, kind of taking a step back, why I wrote it, we had seeded a lot of guys in the Trump administration over the years. I've met them at occasional events and people kind of in the tentacles of the Trump administration. And, we were a fan of the America First policy, me personally. Business, we don't really get into politics. But when the tariffs got announced, I was like, man, it feels like we're about to approach an iceberg, but no one's kind of saying it. And I felt I had a unique position where I was a small business owner. We haven't raised money. We've been around for 6 or 7 years now. And I kind of represent the American dream to Trump. And kind of listening to what he was talking about, I didn't think e-commerce was really on his radar at all. He's talking about automotive, he's talking about chips. And then there's e-commerce that represents a ton of different industries that's kind of an innocent bystander. So I felt kind of really called almost to say something. I was actually on a fast too. I was doing my quarterly 72-hour fast, and I just felt like this is the right time to do it. And so I put it out there, and I kind of knew it. I actually, Sean, our VP of Ops, I sent it to him, and he looks at me, he's like, "Dude, this is good." And within like an hour, it already had gotten close to 1 million views. And then Jason on This Week in Startups, my clip also got like, however many times, maybe close to 7 million views. So it was it was a cool moment for me, but more importantly, just to get attention to the administration. And then shortly after, I did talk to someone that is really close to Trump, and they said they were going to show him the tweet. And I do believe they're listening, but I think what Besant said the other day was that textile industry is not something they're necessarily trying to bring back to the U.S., but it does provide a leverage point because it is hurting China and a lot of jobs, and POs aren't getting paid for. And it is something that is a piece of leverage. So it's unfortunate that like specifically the textile industry is kind of caught in this crosshair.
Yeah.
That's really hurting. So I do believe we're listening, but I think there's bigger fish they're trying to fry that we're just going to be kind of at the mercy of whenever that gets done.
Yeah, it's a negotiating chip, and I've been saying this too because obviously, so like I have like I don't know, I guess I don't really ever like tell people what I'm up to on the podcast. I have like several consulting clients that like just get on calls with me every week or whatever, and that's sort of left over from Triple Whale. That's what I was doing at Triple Whale, and then some have followed me in the after Triple Whale days. Which, I think 2 weeks ago, the episode was me talking about how I got fired from Triple Whale. So, if you want a little callback, plugging our own episodes here. But that there's a lot of concern on around tariffs. I think there is some level of hope that, and it's good to hear you say this because there's some level of hope that textiles, garments will get an exception just because it's such a nice, clean thing to make an exception. So I work with some brands that are, they have some electronic components or moving stuff in them or whatever. And I'm like, that just seems like it's too hard to differentiate and give like, I have less hope for them. Right. But garments, clothing, things like that, seems like there's some hope that it might get an exception, but it sounds like maybe it might also be a negotiating chip, at least from what you're hearing.
Yeah. I think Trump's aware. I mean, so the first time I talked to him twice. The first time was very like, hey, let's get excited about bringing jobs back. And then I kind of regret kind of going soft gloves approach. Then the second time I talked to him, I was like, guys, thousands of businesses will go under. Like if this goes on any longer, we got to do something. And so I think if you read kind of how, and talking to buddies in the industry, a lot of people are affected May 2nd and then May 15th. So, and, they gave us a month warning. So a lot of people have inventory, which kind of can ease the blow a little bit. But I think what's going to happen, like with wholesale orders and things like that come in at those times, those are going to, like I have a buddy that he had a $500,000 wholesale order that he placed. He couldn't ship it because he couldn't import it at the high tariff. So now he's out $500K. If it happens again, like businesses just don't have that type of cash flow, especially like small businesses, to take that blow and then still restart. So I think, we ran a sale in April, which we would never do, to pull some demand forward to give us, like, if our sales are slower the first 15 days of May, maybe the full month of May, we pulled those forward. So it won't necessarily hurt us as bad. Our May year over year will look terrible, but we'll live to fight another day and build up in June. So there's lots of things we're doing in the business to manage the risk.
Yeah.
It sucks doing that because no business, I think, is meant to work week to week. We made these PO decisions 9 months ago, 6 months ago, right, that are now hurting us now. So it's just really unfortunate how to adjust to this.
This is what I'm hearing a lot of is people really are thinking around, how do I just extend? Like, how can I just extend the clock? How can I play extend here? They don't a lot of the brands I'm talking to are like, I don't have a solution, because I think you said it best when you said 145% tariff is an embargo. Mm-hmm. So the only real solution is for me to try and reshore or something like that. So they just play extending. I want to kick it to some
about me saying it's an embargo. The guy who interviewed Trump last night, I think he read my tweet because he asked Trump that he used the line when he was interviewing Trump, and I was like, he got that from me. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I've said that to a couple of people now on calls, and they're like, "That's exactly right." I think that feels very true for a lot of people importing. I want to kick it to some of the other the co-hosts here. So, Zoe, I have a specific question for you. I'm going to circle back to it though. First of all, is this are you getting hit with this with Dad Gang? Is this are you just not? You seem generally not worried about anything ever. So I guess, what's your, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of concern here? And I'm going to assume the highest you can possibly be is a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. EJ runs all of our operations and logistics and manufacturing stuff. And so
that's why you're never concerned about anything.
Precursor telling me it's a 2 out of 10 is what he's doing.
he's so good at it and so amazing at it that we prepared for this a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Like getting shipments in before any of that, having manufacturing in other places, making some stuff in the US. Like we are a little more simplified. I mean, Steven's been, I've known him since Cuts started, like way back in the day. And, you know, Cuts makes so many more things and has been around for a longer time. We're still only like 3 years in and make hats. And every once in a while we'll drop a t-shirt. So like when we heard rumbles of all this stuff happening, we kind of just adjusted maybe in like, uh, I don't know, I would say like September of last year, like made some adjustments to make sure the impact isn't as hard hitting. But to the same tone, like you said, I'm like genuinely not too worried about things. We really try to be as like optimistic about this situation as possible. And sometimes it might come off as delusion, but we're like, it's going to work itself out. And like Steven said, on the textiles industry too, like we speak with all of our peers within the industry too. And it's just kind of like the general consensus is it's going to be okay. This part is very rough and it's hitting a lot of people. And I totally understand that. But we are of the mind that things will get figured out, especially in apparel, especially in textiles. So yeah, I'd say like a 5 or 6, like you mentioned.
Okay. That's the max
Is
for you. That's as
is
worried as you can be about anything.
yeah, maybe EJ is a bit more concerned because he has an ops mind, but as far as the three of us that run the company goes, we just prepared for this kind of impact, and then
Yeah.
we'll see how it shakes out. I know 90 days is kind of the thing that people have been throwing around. Some people are like, oh, what will Trump wake up and do next Wednesday? And it's kind of like Tariff Tuesdays come around, and
Mhm.
there's so many little terms around this, but we try not to. And I think Steven, you're doing a great job of this. You're like voicing your concern, but you're not freaking out publicly. Like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of I spend a lot of time on X and LinkedIn. A lot of the sentiment is like, oh, okay, we're still just going off about tariffs nonstop. Can we get back to strategy and marketing a little
I
bit? Like,
and I actually don't like it. It's an
yeah,
I yeah.
yeah.
I've like legit last week I was like I scrolled on X for maybe 15 minutes through like, D2C ecom X, and it's just like I think I might have to take a break from this app. Nobody like there's nothing positive. It's only people who are like we're like it's just this general feeling of like worry,
yeah.
and maybe that's my
Yesterday,
algorithm. I don't know, but
yesterday we released our 3-year anniversary hat. It was awesome. Like it was a true test of brand because I'm like, are people buying our hats because of Dad Gang, or are people like really following us and love the brand and will celebrate 3 years with us?
yeah,
And I think it's still a bit
Great.
of both. Like some people are probably like, I'm a dad, that says dad on it, I'm going to buy it. But then we had a really good turnout for these 3-year anniversary hats. And I just tweeted about it like, this is awesome. So cool to see that people are actually like celebrating 3 years with us. And there's a few replies in there that are like, this is awesome, but what about the tariffs? And I'm like, dude, it has nothing to do with that. Like, stop
Sparks like
thinking about tariffs.
Sparks like look, I rip 30, 40 tweets a day. All right, they're not all going to be about tariffs.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Zoe, I wanted to ask you something. So I want to try and word this and precursor this question right, and this is something I've been talking to a few different brands about. I think that and we're like, I'm not trying to make this like a politically partisan discussion. Really, I'm trying to make it a discussion about how can we be productive in the face of this, or what can we do about this as an industry or whatever. One of the things I've been sort of saying, or like not, I don't know if I've really gotten this out right, but I've kind of said like, look, if you're the administration, if you put yourself in the shoes of the administration, and you're going to make a policy around tariffs that you believe will ultimately be beneficial, but it's going to hurt somebody, e-commerce, and I would even extend that to retail, is not a bad group to hurt because we're not major employers in the US. And that even extends to retail. Like I was looking into this. Even if you extend to big box retail, not a major employer in the US in terms of percentage. And a lot of those jobs are like part-time, not, they're like, they're not career jobs, right? we're not a major employer. We're not like major donors. Like we haven't gotten as an industry involved in politics the way that big tech has. And we're not like, we don't have a big voice. There's not like a big, like the CEO of Nike or Apple are like well known, but they're not like out there really like saying a bunch, right? And those would be probably the two biggest brands that people know of that would be affected by something like this. Tesla, I suppose, as well. But, that like, basically I'm saying strategically, if you're going to create policy that you think will ultimately be beneficial, if you believe that's going to be beneficial, setting aside whether it will be or not, but it has to hurt somebody, we're not a bad group to hurt. And so I'm like, ooh, that sucks. That's not the position you want to be in, where it's like, we're the group that you could hurt and it wouldn't have any political ramifications. So the only way it does have political ramifications is if everybody's right about it. And it's like, yeah, in July, we're going to be low on a bunch of products all over the country. Prices are going to rise a lot. If that happens, then every American notices, and then there's pressure. There's upward political pressure to actually change things. But if that doesn't happen, which we can't tell the future, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But that doesn't happen, then we're kind of in this position where it's like, oh, we get to get hurt, and we can't say anything about it. So a discussion, all that to say, feel like I've framed that the best way I can. All that to say, one of the things I've been talking to brands about that I want to ask you about, Zoe, is like just raising prices on products versus putting something in cart, right? So it's like, this jacket currently costs $60. Do I just raise the price? Because 145% tariff is a crazy price raise, right? You're going to have to raise that price from 60 to probably like $90 or $100 on the low end. You're still going to lose some margin. Do you do that with just a price raise on the product? Or do you say, no, we're going to just keep it at 60 and we're going to have a $30, like we're going to have shipping in cart and we're going to have a $30 tariff fee in cart? This is something I've been chatting about because I'm like, well, where do we have a voice? A lot of people come through our checkouts, and a lot of people would notice if they started seeing that from every brand that they came through. Plus, it gives you some consistent marketing metrics. If you're looking year over year at your marketing metrics, you can at least say, hey, is our add to cart rate the same? Is our cost per add to cart the same? That kind of thing. I'm curious your thoughts on that. Like, you really think from a customer centric standpoint, are you like, no, don't do that, that's a horrible idea? Or do you think there's some merit there, or what?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and it I'll answer the cart first. You never want to like surprise or throw your customers for a loop where they're shopping and they've got 6 things in their cart, and then all of a sudden they get they go to checkout and they have this like enormous price added to there. Like, that's just going to, and I'm sure if we did some like A/B tests, that like customers would get to the cart and be like if this is the first time they're seeing it, like fuck that. And I think that but on the same front, it kind of reminds me.
Can I pause you? Do you think it would be worse than like just raising? Because I guess I'm assuming like you raise the price by that much, that's going to be bad too. You think it actually would be even worse?
Yeah, it's a surprise.
The surprise pricing is never, like, you see people complain about surprise pricing for like a $2 shipping insurance. Mm-hmm. Imagine putting like a $30, even just $30 for one item or whatever it is. So I think that it's an interesting thing though, because I think if like the industry shifted to like everyone eventually has that, then it's like normalized. But you don't want to be like the first brands doing that. Absolutely. Like, I'd run so far from that, because like surprise fees to your customers just make people angry. And it's going to like, if everyone could get together at the same time and publish it, which like, who knows? Like, I mean, Shopify could probably do something like that, like have Shopify deal with it.
Well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just really quickly, wasn't there like screenshots of like Temu or Shein going around with new import fees at checkout?
Yeah. And well, I've seen companies do this with credit card fees. Sometimes like sometimes companies will put they'll put like taxes plus fees. And I've dealt with this like an annoying amount, because there are those customers who will reach out and be like, my state tax is blah, 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 but I got charged 2 cents extra. And then we realize like that company actually has like some fees, or maybe it is messed up. And like customers notice, like there are some customers who just they notice every penny that they spend and every fee that's attached to that. And you like good customer experiences, you have answers for those people and things are like correct. Mm-hmm. So I've seen people complain about these things, and yeah, like surprise fees, not a good solution. But I think that communicating, and I put this, there's so much communication going, like proactive. I think the worst thing brands can do is just no proactive communication and just increase their pricing without saying anything, which you'd be surprised. Like probably everyone on this call is like, well, duh, like wouldn't you do that? And everyone would do that. But it reminds me of like a couple different things that we've seen where one, John, like what you were saying with like us being like the best people to hurt, or like retail and e-com being the best people to hurt. It reminds me of when we saw during COVID, and like we saw a bunch of like change in the industry because of like essentials. So like, remember when all the manufacturers could only produce essential products, and then it was like we had to figure out loopholes around that. Like we stopped hiring people because we didn't know what would happen, and it was only supposed to be 2 weeks. Like this is reminding me of like those times of like, how do we pivot? And like when we were all going through that, we were like, wow, like the world is ending. And then like now there's like riots and like it kind of reminds me of like we felt like that was like so painful, and like we had to figure out how to like move forward. Yeah. And it's so different, but it like gives me those vibes of like, this might be painful right now, and I think everyone should like speak up to like help the bigger cause. But like Bart, you said it, like we will get through this, and it's just like figuring out how to pivot.
Okay, Bart, one of the big things I'm seeing a lot in Facebook ad accounts these days is a lot of spend on product catalogs. And I'm really, really seeing this a ton in apparel and clothing. I'm curious, how much of your budget is going toward catalog?
Yeah, we have really good product photography. So a majority of our spend recently has been going to catalog ads. 40, 50, and sometimes 60% is going into catalog ads, DPAs. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of great results from it.
Yeah, even just going catalogs to cold audiences. One of the issues, though, of course, with catalogs is that you can't stand out creatively. Like you can't, it's just your product photos.
Yeah.
So like I think we've solved for that in an interesting way with Dad Gang, with our partner Marpipe. So can you just kind of break down what you're doing with Marpipe to try and get better results out of your catalog ads?
Marpipe was able to come in and kind of mix up our creative a lot. We kind of felt like we were cornered into this. You can only show white background images or whatever's on your Shopify site. And they were able to come in and bust out a bunch of variations of that catalog, adding copy or adding various backgrounds, or even simple things like price. Before that, we were just kind of, held to white background. Here's the hat and here's the copy of the ad. Whereas now that creative can showcase a lot more about the brand to a cold or a remarketing audience.
Yeah, cool. So if you're a Facebook advertiser, marketer, founder, anything like that, you're most likely running product catalog ads in your Facebook ad account already. Check out Marpipe if you want to basically just put those product catalog ads on steroids. Yeah, I don't want to be a downer to your message. I agree overall. I will say that I think we'd be kidding ourselves if we as an industry didn't acknowledge that stimulus checks, which were something we had no control over, were a huge boon to us during that COVID time, right? Like, and specifically to us, because they couldn't go spend them anywhere else other than online, right? So it's like, yeah, we got all of this, like all of these issues, all of this uncertainty, and then Americans got a whole bunch of money in no time, right? And a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of time, and they just spent that money with us. So it's like there was still this just macro thing that was kind of a tailwind as opposed to a headwind. So potentially something like that happens here. Hopefully, I don't know, but
Well, I've seen like on that same front, there's like I don't know if I shared this with you guys before, but I was looking into acquiring a brand that was selling that was it was a Shark Tank brand, and they actually didn't they never made it back after COVID because their manufacturer, which was in the US, shifted to selling only essentials during COVID, and then just dropped them after that because it was a much better business for them. And this brand was never able to figure out how to come back after being like a US based
Yeah.
manufactured brand and like trying to figure out like how to like come back. And so even though there's stimulus checks and like people had to spend it online and everything, there was so much operational challenge that I experienced and saw through like just like inventory and all of that, which is like that those parts I believe are similar because like your customers can only spend money if you have inventory, right?
Mhm.
Like all the operational issues and like challenges are way bigger than just like do people have the money to spend on it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I think we're going to see that, and I mean the price increases are going to be crazy if like I don't know. I have a list of like I've been trying to put out a newsletter about this because like there's so many I have so many screenshots of like businesses saying like we're going to increase our prices and here's a pre-tariff sale, like all of these things, and I keep like going back to click on like content that I had and I look and it's like deleted because it's different, like everything's changing. So I think it's just like in a very confusing time
Yeah.
right now.
I think I have shifted my viewpoint on that, like having it in checkout in the last couple of weeks for a couple of reasons. One of them, Stephen, is because of you and like the tweet you've been putting out and the reaction to them. There is a very unsympathetic reaction publicly to this, I think, right? So like on the left, it's like you guys voted for this, right? Especially
Yeah, I got
you kind of said, yeah, where you kind of said like, hey, I voted for Trump 3 times now. Like the left is like elections have consequences, and then the right's like, well, this is what you get for importing junk from China and marking it up a bunch or whatever. Or like, they just don't really like. They'll be like, oh yeah, like you're going to be hurting with your $60 t-shirts or whatever, like your high end clothing or stuff like that. And it's like, oh, there's just a lack of understanding around tariffs, and there's not a ton of sympathy for the businesses that are going to be hurt by it, I don't think. So I have changed my tune on that a little bit, where I'm like, I think if you put it in checkout, it's going to seem like you're making a political statement that's not really going to hit with anybody. I am curious, yeah, like what's been the blowback, and then I guess we can talk about solutions or things that we can do. But yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I think the solution. I mean, we're gonna test it all. Like we're raising prices on tomorrow, but it's really a contribution margin game. So like if so to use simple math, a $10 item at 145% is now like $24. So if you sold it at 50, now there's way less, money to go around and pay for the other things in the business. But if your volume could be up if you left it at price and spend less on ads, is there more dollars there? We've thought about the cart, maybe just adding $2 or $3, something minuscule. See if that has an effect. I mean, we're going to treat it week to week. One other thing we're doing too, we have items from Peru, we have some items from Vietnam. So those SKUs will lower the prices and then at the same time higher the prices from the China. So net, maybe there's like from a conversion rate standpoint, everything it can kind of smooth it out. So that's one thing you can do. We've asked our suppliers for discounts, and then one of our suppliers is going to actually wire us money, and they're going to rewire them for that PO. So for the CBP, we can show them that hey, this is a lower rate. So then net, you're saving on the tariff as well. Just causes a lot of headache that way. And then moving all production for the next 90 days. So really for us, it's like survive for 90 days, try to get through as much of this inventory as possible, and then live to fight another day. But I would say, how big of an impact is it? There's a lot of industries that are going to be affected by this too. Like if you make like a water bottle, they only make those in China, and so all of the like 321 which is people shipping direct import or shipping over the border like we do. That's like majority of businesses now that make stuff abroad just do that because it's cheaper. And so like Walmart, like 90% of their stuff is direct port, including like food. So I think you'll see it on the lower end item where things will be more expensive for that lower end consumer. I think it's going to be a pretty big impact if it doesn't get resolved soon. I think the biggest thing it's impacting is just the uncertainty of what to do next. So, like, is it, people are just frozen of not understanding it. Hey, do we move production over here? Do we move it over here? What is the tariffs going to be at this country? Could it be better in China for us? We've done such large volume with a few of our hero SKUs in China that even moving it when the tariff was 30 or 40%, we were like, well, if it's even if it goes up double from where it is now, it's still cheaper than changing countries because the supply chain's so much better.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to note too, is like the 145% was so unpredictable that no one thought it would be that high.
Yeah.
People, even experts thought maybe 60% it would end out. Then you look at that on a COG base. If an item's, $10, maybe it goes up a little bit, but it's still cheaper than if you go to a different country with less tight of a supply chain. So, it just was a kind of a tough thing to prepare for.
Right. Yeah. Other ways that I've seen brands, like this might be a good go. So in other ways that I've seen or heard of brands being crafty, like you said, going to, especially if you've got scale. So Cuts, of all the people, all the brands on our pod, I guess Bart, you would maybe know better than I would, but I'm assuming Cuts is a little bit higher scale than Dad Gang.
Yeah.
The other brands here,
For now, Dad Gang's growing fast.
Dad Gang.
John's so good at backhanded compliments. He's like, Bart, you suck, but Steven, you're awesome.
Yeah.
He's also wearing a Dad Gang hat as he says it, so it's all good.
And so I think that's the key to a backhanded compliment, is that you have to actually compliment one party, and you have to be wearing the hat. Right, Except for with you, Zoe, I just only speak in backhanded compliments. It's the only thing.
I'm like, you always make me come out to be like this idiot, but I'm fine.
But I think the other brand, so Royo, the brand that I'm with now, and then Breeze, Shackelford's brand, probably both not as affected by tariffs. Like, we've got some packaging stuff that comes from China, but for the most part, like food and bev, you got to do it here. I don't know actually what Breeze's process is, but we sell perishables. You've got to make those in, this country you're selling them in. We don't even ship to another country. So I think ways that I've seen some other brands or talked to some other brands that are getting crafty is if you really understand like what it means to be made in China. So some people were like, well, what if I just ship from China to another country, ship from there? It's like, no. Or country of origin is China. However, in certain, like there's one brand that I talked to where they're saying, actually we can make like 90% of our product in China, ship to Vietnam, add one final component, and then that will make the country of origin, depending on what that final component is, that actually makes the country of origin Vietnam instead of China. So like, a simple example in clothing, I'm not saying that this one is true, but a simple example in clothing would be something like, the base shirts or hats are made in China. They're then printed in Vietnam, and that changes the country of origin to Vietnam. I don't know if that's true. I probably
it's whatever the final product ends, wherever that is, that's the country of origin. So, like, because we've thought about this 100 different ways.
Yeah.
So if it goes from fabric to T-shirt, whatever state that happens in, that's when it becomes.
That's the country of origin.
We were thinking of like, oh, what if we like unsewed the shirt and then sewed the shirt on, or sewed the sleeve?
Yeah,
do it. Or if we put like a cuts on the chest for all the units, and it's already a T-shirt, and then so it's really hard to change the country of origin if it's already in that form. So now for fabric, you can ship fabric over, make it a T-shirt, do that. But again,
that's the rule in clothing. But that is one way. If you're not selling clothing, you might be able to get crafty here, right?
Totally.
Yeah, it's like,
and I've seen like whole product launches get pushed back, or like stock issues from like, I think the packaging is underestimated because I don't know, one time we ran out of scoops and like couldn't sell, like we were out of stock on everything because we had one, like, I think the product or the packaging is like forgotten about a lot in those food products too, of just like, you have to be ahead of that on like, and you just like always have to be thinking 6 months,
Yep.
8 months, a year ahead on that shit.
The good news for you, if that's you, so like for us with Royo, the good news for us, if we just need to order packaging, is the shipping lanes are pretty clear. Not a lot being shipped right now, so you can get your product onto boats. You can get your packaging onto boats. So I guess that's another. I do wonder if you are food and bev. So just thinking out loud here, if you are food and bev, or if you have like less important stuff, like package. So for us, packaging comes from China, but you know, for bulk, even with the tariff, it's just not going to affect our price that much, right? I almost wonder if, because we're willing to ship right now, if we have some negotiating leverage with our suppliers. Whereas like so many people or so many other US sellers might not be shipping right now. I don't know. Again, another way that sellers
We paid $400 for a container yesterday. During COVID, it was 20,000 or 25,000. So
so container costs basically.
I was going to ask about that. Is there a workaround here? So like book your container now and ship it in September and you can lock in a $400 container?
No, unfortunately, it's just like supply and demand. We just learned the hard way. I mean, one of our Black Swan events over the years was 2020. We had just done t-shirts, but we launched joggers and we sold like 1,000. And then we ordered 50,000 of them for the end of the year. Me and Sean were sitting there. We were like 5 guys. And we're like, let's order 50,000 items. Sight unseen, 4 colors, boom. We ended up selling all of them, but it ended up being like almost $50,000 to air them all. Or per container, it was 50,000. There was multiple containers to do 50,000 units. So it ended up adding like $20 to the cogs or something, but we just weren't thinking like that. We were idiots. And we ended up just like margin getting hit that month. We sold them all. We blew it out. We crushed it. We did like $15 million from our first season in bottoms during 21. But then when the P&L came back, we're like, what happened? And we just were rookies at that time.
So I guess another one that's another question I have for you, because it sounds like you are trying to negotiate with suppliers. I think one of the things I'm hearing from higher scale brands is that there is stuff their suppliers can do for them, like what you said, where like they're paying you, you're paying them, or like sometimes like some of these suppliers are actually government subsidized, so sometimes they can give you pricing breaks and stuff like that. And especially the Chinese ones, which doesn't make sense to us, right? Like it seems like it's private business, but it's just not always. I think if you're like a smaller seller, you know, maybe you don't have as much negotiating power with the supplier. But what are other creative ways that either you're working with a supplier or you've heard other brands?
Yeah, I mean, if you're on terms, let's say you get 90-day terms and you owe $1 million.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey, take her to leave it one-time offer. We'll give you 50% today, and then that's it. Some of the suppliers might take that because it's better than zero. I've heard people doing that right now. I don't know anyone that's paying China right now until this tariff thing. You got to hold your cash. So whatever cash you have in this moment, I would just tell your suppliers, until this is all figured out, like we need to punt any payments, any PO payments. Which is pretty standard right now. I think almost everyone that is affected by it would do that because like I said, it's an embargo. If you can't sell it for a profit, like Cuts has good margins. If you're on thinner margins and you have 145%, it's better just to throw away those items potentially. Like that's how bad it could be if your margins aren't great. And if you can't increase prices. So I think that's maybe more of an extreme situation, but just like really, do layoffs, your AMER, if it's a 1.5, it needs to be a 3, things like that. All those are things that I think will have a big impact on like just kind of getting through it.
Yeah.
I think the staffing is such an ironic part of all of this, because it's like we're trying to bring more business to the U.S. and jobs and everything. And I was going to give an ironic cost saving tip in the customer experience world. I used to be pretty against offshore staffing for CX because I hadn't seen it done well. And then I got fed up and I was like, you know what, let me figure. I had a client who needed 60 support agents. And I'm like, okay, at that point, 60 onshore customer support people if with this brand just isn't like realistic. And so I figured it out and did we do it really well now. But I'm seeing like a trend too, just like right now, just thinking about your future, like your customer experience hires, your customer service hires, like people who were really hesitant to offshore help are considering it now for the cost savings. And I think it's a good option, especially if you have like a larger team or you're hiring, you need, like every 100K matters. And if you can cut some costs and still get really good talent, it's a good place to go as well.
Everybody talks about optimizing their ads, but they don't spend enough time talking about optimizing their overall website, which is something that I think more of us need to spend time doing, and more of us need to spend time thinking through. The reason why most people don't do it is because you actually can't track revenue per element on your site. Heatmap.com does that. And that's something exactly why I love them and why we use it, because it's easy enough for me to use and it's easy enough for us to like communicate what exactly the changes are doing for our people. I like heatmap.com because it specifically drives revenue for us per element that we have. And so there's no real back and forth discussion. It's either going to start to work or we're going to get rid of it because it's tied directly to revenue. Google Analytics, which we all terribly hate, only talks about what's happening on the overall website, not the actual elements within the website. At the end of the day, the only valuable data point that we can gather are the ones that drive revenue. And if you aren't able to track that or update that, you're really wasting your time, which is why we use Heatmap, because we're able to track that specific data and know what optimizations we need to do next. Head on over to heatmap.com, give it a 14-day free trial. Worst case, it's not for you. You don't want to use it. Best case, you find a bunch of money and you make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Bart, I think I don't know if you remember, I interrupted you a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you remember what you were going to say or what, but all good.
No, I think I was going to ask about that loophole for $400, and
yeah,
looks like I won't be trying that.
If you look on the map, the map of like outside of China is like massive amounts of like ready to go, boats just sitting there. So it's been 20 days. COVID was only shut down for 30 days. I would get it in, you place that bet and then find an in bond warehouse, so in a free trade zone, they lock in a tariff when you import it, but a in bond means you don't pay the tariff until it goes out of bond. So what a lot of people are doing is like just putting stuff in the water now, landing in the ports, but it's actually like being held there. It's transported to an in bond warehouse.
I wanted to hear your opinions, everyone's opinions on the like pre-tariff sales. And like, I don't really have like too much of an opinion, but it's interesting to see like ads for pre-tariff sales and thinking about like inventory. And I'm like, oh, I thought everyone was trying to save their inventory just like because they don't know what's going to happen with their POs, but then they're pushing like sales for their like current inventory. So I wanted to hear like what you guys thought about that and if you've seen any floating around Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, I saw a couple like pretty early on from a few brands, or people doing like reversals. They're like, we're not raising prices, we're doing a discount, we're here for you, And I saw it once or twice, and I was like, ooh, that's pretty creative. And then I saw everybody follow suit, and I was like, oh, okay, everybody's just doing a sale now, and it's kind of back to even playing field. But I think if you can find a way to, and I think Steven did this with cuts, if you can find a way to be generous during these times, and whether it's a discount or a free little something that shows up with your order, or a way to like, a way to like rally together with your customers around it. I think that's good if you have good community, because otherwise it's like the alternative is like raise prices or do a surprise fee, which just feels like Ticketmaster shopping. You're just getting all like three fees at the end of a fee. So yeah, if you can find ways to be like generous during the times and give back, that just really helps out, because you're doing the opposite of like panicking and kind of showing your fear as a business owner. I think I'm reading a lot of that from some people.
My thought on any sale is that a sale is a funnel clearing event. So for most brands, right, a sale is going to, unless you are a brand that like has no problem selling on full price and you can just scale up on full price and that totally works for you. A sale is essentially gathering up all those people who like have been thinking about it, but like haven't pulled the trigger, and they need a reason to buy today, right? And so so what that really means is oftentimes is that like a sale is moving, like if you just kept a steady state at all times, some event would happen in their life that would make them buy, right? So if you're looking at a jacket, you're like, I'm not going to buy that jacket today, but I like it. You keep getting retargeted, whatever, something. But then I don't know, your old jacket tears, or winter comes and your old jacket's not warm enough. Some event happens in your life that then makes you go buy that jacket. Now, a sale is a manufactured event that makes you buy the jacket. Does that make sense? So that's my opinion on any sales, that eventually like you're moving revenue forward. That revenue was going to come because those people were just going to have the event in their life. So that doesn't mean I'm against sales. They clear out your funnel and they move revenue forward. I think in this situation, if you're like strategically trying to move revenue forward, because it's going to make your COGS lower, then I think it actually makes a ton of sense to do a sale, which it sounds like was the strategy for Cuts, Stephen. If you're just doing a sale because you're like, here's an opportunity to do a sale, I don't know if that's like a great idea if you actually need your inventory to last. Like it might be a better idea to just keep selling your inventory at full price and try and wait it out that way if you've got inventory in the States and you just kind of let the sales come naturally.
I think we were in such a unique position because we had some China inventory, plus we used 321. So the difference of selling an item at 145% or even 20, 30% off from a contribution margin, it wasn't even close in terms of the overall profit we could drive just pushing it 1 month. So it was just a very unique. Plus, with me going viral, doing it, being honest with the consumer. Hey, we've never run a sale in April before. We just launched all this new product. It's going to be on sale. We had a 12% higher. We had 12% more email revenue than Black Friday. So the message clearly resonated with our lower funnel in a really massive way. Like people actually felt the urgency to buy. And we got tons of messages like, "Hey, we're down to support and help." So it's kind of that saying of "never waste a good crisis" is kind of what I told the team, and it really worked for us. Like it was, several $1 million of like relief it provided us. It cleared out a bunch of inventory. Now we don't like running one in April. I used to worry about this stuff more, like running, messing with the funnel and all of that, but. I think it was just such an opportunistic time, just kind of with all the factors of being impactful to the business. Plus, our core mission is we operate and win in the sport of business. So that's what we preach. That's what we talk about all the time. That's what the influencers that we work with. So being honest during this period felt like very on brand for us. We weren't trying to just like screw over the customer. We're actually trying to say, hey, if you want to buy, now is actually a better time to get all your spring stuff. If you're thinking of buying next month, buy now. And customers, it resonated. So I think the way in which we did it was genuine, and it helped. I think it both benefited the customer and us. And we actually are going to raise prices. So there was no like opportunistic when it's kind of bullshit. It was actually a real issue for us.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it, Zoe? Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah.
Well, I think that if you're doing it in like a wholesome like way, where like exactly what you're saying, Stephen, and not just like you're like faking out, and then you never raise prices, like that's the worst thing you could do. But I know, I think it's if all of the pieces are in place and you have inventory and it's all falls into place, I think it's responsible and it's good for your consumers. And I think that consumers are a little bit nervous at the same time too. So when they hear from like their favorite brands, they're like, okay, now I know what's going to happen. It's like, I'm not sure what was going to happen with my favorite brands, but like, here's step one. And so it's like, it's talking to the consumers and being transparent with them is amazing. And then I was going to say too, on that front, I just like would encourage like what some of the stuff we were talking about, like even with your point, John, about maybe putting it in the cart. And maybe if you have a couple options and you don't know which one to do, and it's like something so big that you don't even want to A/B test it because of conversion could be so different comparing the different options. But surveying your customers, and like I think people forget to, like, if you have like options for your consumers, just like send a quick survey, if like, and you don't need to send it to your full audience or
Great
whatever,
idea.
but like ask them, like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer this in the cart, or would you prefer us to increase prices overall? And customers want to tell you the feedback. And so I think that surveying is such a solid way to like confirm. It's almost like a pre-sale. Like people want to buy it. So it's like, survey your customers, ask them what they prefer and how they're feeling, and if they have any feedback, and then like go from there.
So I'm curious, actually, when I pause on this for a second, because I agree. I think a lot of brands don't think about surveying. I am almost in it. I'm like in the opposite with Royo right now, where I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to survey the customers about. I can't put it all in one survey because it's too disjointed, like the different kinds of questions and stuff like that. And I can't put it all in our post-purchase. So we have an ongoing post-purchase. I'm curious what your thoughts are on, like, how crazy do you get with like surveying different segments? How often do you send them surveys? Like, my general thought process right now is like, okay, if we have like a customer segment and we're mostly going to survey just the bulk, like all customers segment, probably no more than once a month that we're like sending them a survey, right? Where we're like, hey, we have some questions. Now I think that we could maybe layer in like a subscribers segment or something like that as well. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Like, how much surveying is too much surveying? I don't think I would have ever had this question until like very recently.
Sir, the answer is survey your customers about how many surveys they want to get. No, but like that's a very valid concern. So at Chomps, I did a lot of surveying for like flavor development and everything, and I actually created this group called the Flavorites, and I had people opt in if they like didn't mind getting a million surveys, and I would survey them more than others. So and I actually, before surveying, I'm like, no one wants to fill this out. Like, who has time to fill out a survey about like what meat stick flavor you want to see?
Right.
And like, I actually had like a big like mistake that was like a good mistake, bad mistake with surveying, because I needed to give the board like the survey, like what the customers wanted to see, and I sent out a survey, and I gave people a 25% off coupon if they finished the survey, because I was like, no one's going to fill this out, like, and I need this data. And I accidentally sold out the site on when I sent out the survey, and then everyone was like, Zoe, like, where, like, we have a sale, blah blah. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know people would actually fill out that survey.
Yeah.
And so I think that you, like, us as consumers, or us as like marketers, kind of need to like put ourselves in like our fans like eyes sometimes, because sometimes we're thinking like, I don't want to bother my consumers, I don't want to like, but when you could see this in like Facebook communities, like Bart, I'm sure you see this, like people want.
I did the coolest thing earlier today. I'm going to interrupt and then you hop right back in. But
no, you're good.
No, like, to this point, I have a private Facebook group, and it's like almost 13,000 dads. And it's like, man, I really want to make an ad, like literally make an ad of like rapid firing through all the dads that wear dad gang hats. And I'm going to like overlay our best hat on top of that. Just make it like, here's the product, here's all the people wearing it, like UGC meets product shots. And so I just went into our group and I was like, hey guys, I'm trying to make an ad. And I would love if you can share some of your photos of you wearing dad gang hats. And I got 370 photos in 2 hours.
Bart, your communities, I'm so impressed by everything you do
Oh my
with the
God.
community. Like, that's I think you're one of the best at it, and it's so genuine. The community's so like just natural. I think you're one of the best at it.
I've said this
Thanks,
before on the show, and I'll say it again because you probably haven't heard it, Steven. Dad Gang is the brand I have brand envy over. Like, I wish I would have started this brand.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too, man.
It's just like such a
Me
good
too.
brand.
Back off, guys.
Guys,
Is there any copycats like dad homies
sure.
or something?
Oh yeah, there's others out there, but man,
Wait, I should start taking pictures of those guys.
But your
too.
dad gang. That's
Yeah.
that's the IP.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there are, but man, we're of the mind of like, if you're building a brand for dads and it's working for you, then like, let's join the party. We don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's all good.
So did you have a finishing thought on surveying? Because I want to talk. I'm going to call an audible. I'm not going to let you guys choose topics at all. I have a topic that Zoe put into the doc that I want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's just, I think that we forget to like ask our consumers and we don't want to bother them, but they want to tell us, and that you'd be surprised. A lot of times you'll ask them and thinking you're going to get one answer and they tell you something completely separate. And then just a last tip always leave a like other comment section and let people just tell you other options and like their feedback, and you learn so much from it. It's amazing.
Especially now that you can plug that stuff into LLMs, like you can get, like you used to have to
exactly
sift through all
exactly
of
what I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'll put them all, I'll survey, and then I'll take all the others and I'll put it into ChatGPT and say, can you summarize and like give me the like most which like topics should I act on first? What's most priority? What's the sentiment? All of that.
Yeah.
Really quick, Zoe, I just agree with you so much on this. Like, I literally had that feeling in my head of like, oh, I don't want to ask them this. Like, nobody's gonna like. This is a weird ask to send me photos, and then I like refresh the post, and yeah, the 300 plus photos, and I even put in there like, I will use these in ads. So if you are posting in here, you're saying it's okay, and they just went off. So yeah, it just like taught me to just ask more because people are down.
I'm literally writing this down. I think it's good advice.
Bart was ready to delete the post after 10 minutes. Not cricket. He was like, "Nah, delete. I never asked."
Like, oh, damn it! But no, it came in quick.
No, and I learned that mostly at Chomps, because I'm like working for Chomps. I'm like, who wants to talk about meat sticks? Like, who gets excited about literal meat sticks?
I think
so
you are
many people.
underestimating how much.
I just had like 2 chomps earlier today. You are living my life
in stick form.
Yeah. Meat sticks.
I'm a big fan of meat sticks. I will talk about them. If we wanted to have a whole episode about meat sticks, I would do that. Okay, here's what I wanted to ask about.
I'm gonna skip that one.
Bart's sick that day. Zoe, you put in here dad gang at Coachella. You just went to Coachella. You're in your Coachella girly era. And I want to broaden the aperture here.
I've been 8 times, but I'm retired.
Okay, I know you're running a lot of product catalog ads and you're using Marpipe. What are some of the creative tests in your catalog ads that you've noticed that have worked well for Dad Gang?
Honestly, for us, the thing that's performing really well right now is like a three grid breakout of the hat. So a lot of our original catalog ads would just have like the front of the hat showing and not the second image. So being able to showcase like the front, the side, the back of the hat in one ad. The other one, as simple as it sounds, is just like actually putting the price front and center, like a little red circle that actually shows the price, because our hats are great quality, but they're only $35 compared to a lot of like the similar quality of a hat out there is like $45 to $60. So I think being able to showcase an affordable price in one ad is helping too.
So, and like Marpipe specifically, they just bust out tons of variations of your catalogs and keep testing it.
Yeah, you just integrate directly into Slack with their team, let them know what you're kind of looking for. They bust out a bunch of variations. It connects directly into your Ads Manager account, and you don't even have to do that much within Ads Manager. It's a seamless integration into everything you're already doing.
If you're any kind of brand that wants to put your catalog ads on steroids and get more returns, better returns out of your catalog ads, check out marpipe.com. All right, back to the pod. Yeah.
Retired Coachella.
Damn.
You retired from you've been 8 times.
2012 to 2019 every year.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I've never been to anything, but I want to broaden the aperture. You can say what you want to say about Dad Gang there, but
You're such a loser. Yeah.
I think that like if you go to there's certain it was very interesting because you were like you texted us from there and you're like I've seen no Dad Gang
So
hats. If you go to
I saw
Disneyland,
lots of hats.
yeah.
Yeah. And so what happened was I'm always, and I think we've talked about this on the pod before, but I'm like, I've got this creepy thing that I do. And whenever I see a Dad Gang hat, I literally stop them and I say, can I take a picture of you and send it to Bart from Dad Gang? And I have stopped people driving cars. I have stopped people in the airport. And so I was at Coachella, saw lots of hats, and I texted the group chat and I said, missed opportunity. I've seen so many hats at Coachella, but no Dad Gang hat.
Mhm.
And what, like an hour later, I'm like frolicking around Coachella, like skipping around,
As
like
you do.
life is so good. And I'm like, Dad Gang hat. And I stopped this guy and I'm like, can I take a picture of you? And I like forgot to like, I don't know, I'm in the Coachella mode. I'm like, I forgot to like explain. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, oh, it's because you're wearing a Dad Gang hat. And I like take a picture of him. And the part I didn't tell you guys was he was with this like girl. And I was like, do you want to be in the picture? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, she must not be the mom. And I didn't say that, but I'm like, for sure, not the mom.
Yeah.
And then take a picture, send it to the group chat. And I'm like, wait, just kidding. I found one.
Bart, I saw I was getting gas the other day and the guy was kind of wearing it backwards. And I just kind of go, Dad Gang. And he kind of like looked up and it was, I always stop people.
Yeah.
Dude, I love I call him Papa Razzi because you're sniping dads. But
That's a dad joke.
yeah, but even when you said that that there's none at Coachella, I'm like, yeah, they're all busy being parents.
Yeah.
But apparently this guy got a nice day off, so I'm
Tough
happy
to
for
get a
him.
babysitter for Coachella, but I my point stands that I made in the group chat. I think as Coachella ages up, they're going to have to be like a cruise and have like a daycare.
I've been 8 times. You would have to pay me to go. That's like,
right. You
Yeah.
get to a certain age.
yeah, it's like I even though I look back and some of my funnest memories were there. So I'm with you, Zoe. Like frolicking in the grass is an amazing moment. If you're in that,
I
mental
feel like
state.
I went through my like you have to pay me to go have like just fun anywhere. Like my whole 20s, I felt like that. And now I'm like, oh, I have like I can like afford these things now. So I'm like, I'm gonna have fun now. So I feel like I did it like backwards.
Mhm.
Totally.
So this is what I wanted to broaden the aperture to a little bit. It is like just as an e-com brand, what are you guys' thoughts on in any kind of in-person activations, whether it's like a pop-up store or you doing your own in-person activation, or whether it's like joining an in-person, like joining a thing that already happens, like, and it'd be awesome to get like, I should ask Shaq to like do a selfie video because they did a big activation, Breeze did at South by Southwest,
cool.
and he said it went incredibly well. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Breeze at South by Southwest makes all the sense in the world. Do you think that's what it is, where it's like, it has to be something that makes sense? Like Dad Gang could do an activation with a Disneyland event,
Hospitals.
but like doing an activation.
Yeah. No, I keep talking about the hospitals because you have that baby welcome gift shop and it's just full of
I think you would
lame
crush,
shit.
bro.
So if,
Vending
Yeah.
machines at every hospital.
Yeah.
No, I'm for it. Like I think we need to. My good friend B-Boy says, "Put paint where it ain't," and it's just kind of like this saying of like explore where like nobody else would. And I'm like, dude, nobody's tapping the hospital gift room. And dads wear Dad Gang hats to the hospital, but like ones that don't, that would be like, oh shit, there it is. I can take a picture in this thing. Like,
Yeah.
I think that would really open it up for us. But from a event standpoint, yeah, it has to make sense. I think like I've been thinking of like either Disney activation or just one like fat golf tournament, like 250 dads plus, like have a performer, release a hat, do a collab, like that kind of stuff would be really cool.
I was gonna say one I think that could work for you would be like you could partner with a comedy club or a theater for this, but like clean comedy event. that you could put on, one that you could bring. I mean, I'm not going to bring my 8-year-olds to it not because it's going to be inappropriate, but because they're just not going to get it. But like if you got older kids at all, that are going to get the jokes, you get a Nate Bargatze like performer, probably going to be tough to get him, pretty big, but like a Nate Bargatze like performer or a lineup of them.
That's cool.
I think something like that. There's a lot of dad gang hats at comedy clubs. Like
I've seen some reels on Instagram of guys getting cooked in the audience by like by comedians, and they have dad gang hats on. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
They like mention that.
Imagine a comedian. Go ahead.
Father-daughter dad gang dance.
Yeah.
Could
you could do that?
Yeah. I like it. So, hey, Zoe, give me some ideas.
Let's
go ahead.
I was going to say, let's take it back to cuts. You guys have done some awesome pop-ups, and you had a store in Seattle, correct? And some other places.
Yeah, we've done.
So you guys are like really into.
We did a Super Bowl party, and we were just like, that was one of the coolest things. It was our first thing. It was like COVID was around. We kind of grew during COVID, and it was the Super Bowl, and we just decided, kind of like, we were all frat guys in college. We're like, we called one of our DJ buddies, and we kind of like, decorated the place all sick. But like, we decorated. We didn't like pay people for doing it. Like, we got out paint and did it at this place in LA called the Smog Shop. And we just put out a flyer, and the Fanatics party happened to be like walking distance from where ours was. And I show up like, an hour early. Like I was there in the morning, I left, I show up an hour early, and there is a huge line, like 10 blocks deep. And I was like, none of these people are going to get in. And so it was cool. Like, we invited a bunch of people from The Bachelor. Like, we couldn't even let in like our celebrity friends because it was at capacity. So much so that when Gronk came, I had to ask a couple of my employees to leave because the security was kind of tight with the fire codes. But it was a cool moment where, like, you forget as a DDC brand that, like, how many orders you actually do in a day. Like, like how many souls are touching your product or like saying, I want to buy it. Cause it's just like, you never really see the product. Same thing with when we launched our store in New York. It was like 6 or 7 blocks of people wanting to buy like the special color. It was pretty cool.
Two-part question. Would you say there's like a good formula for, cause we just talked about, like, that's like you didn't sponsor an event, you put on an event, right? And then there's like the whole other world of like sponsoring events. So like going to South by Southwest. Do y'all have very much experience with that? I think you might, Zoe, with Chomps or Ghost. And like, is it just like get out there and do it? Is it about like picking the event that's right? What are your thoughts on this? Is it worth it? Because sometimes it can be a little expensive.
Yeah. Well, I think that it doesn't have to be expensive to do it, first off. And then if you have the money to do the things where you have to buy your way in, it's so worth it. And I've actually, like, throughout my entire just like adulthood, have been really, really for just getting people together, because there's like nothing like taking an online community that just like all has a common like and getting them together. And like, could you, like, if Dad Gang got all their Facebook group together in person and like recognize people from like also commenting on whatever, like that would, the like feeling that people get from just like interacting with others that have like interests and like the same interests or like just relate on a certain level is just like, there's nothing like it. And you can't, like, when you create core memories for people, that there's like nothing better than that experience. And I would do this in my like gaming world. Like, I used to speak on like women in gaming and like get people together from like the online world to like in person. And like people like still talk about it like today, about like the events that we would just like all get together and people would fly in from like across the country because like they wanted to like spend time with the people that they like connect with. And I just think that doing it, like paying to do it, is also such a good, just like when you were talking about, I was thinking about at Coachella, they have those loop earplug stands
Yeah.
like everywhere. And I just like thought that was such a cool like little activation where they have like it's like a loop earplug next to like tacos, you know, and like people are
Mhm.
taking like their hearing seriously, and like there and there's lines at these loop earplugs, and like then there's like the bigger ones, like there of course there's a Coca-Cola like experience,
Yeah,
and
that one's
then you've
cool.
got your outside like so cool. And I think that just there's nothing like in-person events, but there's so much like people don't do them because there's so much work
Yeah.
and so many moving pieces. So you almost like need an events person, or like it's easy to mess up too.
Yeah. Steven, thoughts on this? Have you done a lot of this with cuts, like sponsoring already existing
Not
events or
really.
like getting a booth doing?
We've
Yeah.
done a few Super Bowl ones that in different cities, but uh, it always seems like a huge waste of money. Like uh, we paid like 70 grand to be like the host of a Super Bowl party, and it was like our logo kind of showed up. Kevin Hart kind of walked by it, and we got to use the images, but it was I don't know. I think it like after throwing our own Super Bowl party, like it's just and you can like we like you can actually drive audience and people there. I think when brands like are just trying to get their word out or just have big budgets that they need to spend, I think it could make more sense. But like if you're a grassroots brand, like I would rather spend 70K, get a dope house in Venice and like really go it out for the 200 people that show up than spend that same 70K, way more people go, but it's just kind of like in the background. So I think like
I,
I
or
saw,
spend even way
yeah.
less, 20K at a beach run in Manhattan Beach, and give everyone product. Like I think
yeah,
that's better.
What,
I
yeah.
saw just really quickly, like True Classics did this super well too. Not to, name another
Gee.
Yeah,
t-shirt brand,
they're
Ooh.
great.
but
Yeah.
no, but when they popped up their retail stores, and you guys might have done this too, is like really check where your online customers are coming from, and then throwing that event or putting that store there. Like I think they said that they had like a ton of traffic from Chicago, and it was like a no-brainer to do a pop-up or a store there. So like even looking at like our orders, I'd be like, where would I throw this golf tournament, right? I'd probably throw it like near the zip code that orders the most from us, and just make it easier for people to get there. So like using D2C data to fuel like your location, I
Yeah,
think
we,
is
we did that
important.
with ours too.
I
It's
have
West Village is our number
Yeah.
one zip code in America.
Yeah.
oh, for these activations that you're throwing a lot of money at, there's and I think that the miss comes from like maybe you've got people helping you with this these events that don't have like e-com like behind the scenes, like trying to grow lists and like gather data. But we actually we started doing this at Chomps with like small activations at Solid Core. I think we did it
Yeah, we've done
where
some stuff with Solid Car with Royo.
yeah, so what we would do is like we would give out like we would give like free samples or whatever, but then we would have a QR code to if you got a free sample to sign up for like to win a year's worth of chomps or something. And it really like proved the ROI on these activations, but like you have to also do it right. Like you can't just have a QR code, but like that's why you see like, you know, Coke had like their pop-up like selfie thing, and they're emailing you the picture, and so like you have to have some type of like CTA of like, okay, make people scan this QR code so that you can like actually retarget them and like make it worth it. Otherwise it's like, okay, maybe they see your logo, but like you like do something fun to make them like there's a tool, and not sponsored, we have our other sponsors, but swappedqr.com makes like dynamic QR codes that you have, like you can have them fill out their email, their SMS, and you can even like have them do like a little game and make it super interactive. But like I think that's the key too. Like if you want to like outside of just like having experience for your customers, but then like be able to retarget them and thank them for coming and then sell to them in the future is like key.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking through a lot too. Is like, do you think of them as this might be like South by Southwest for Breeze makes a lot of sense because it's like I don't know if they gave out a lot of free product just like Red Bull style, or if they actually had like a place where you could buy it. But it's like, it makes a ton of sense to actually just have a place where you sell some ready to drink product at South by Southwest, like a cold beverage, right? Where I'm like, okay, I can't bring like bagels to South by Southwest, you know?
Breakfast event.
Yeah, some like, so I guess, I guess that's what I'm like, maybe the key is, maybe I'm thinking too much of like, you need to stop thinking you need to sell product at these things. Is that like the way that you usually approach it, where it's like, don't try and sell product, just sort of like try and activate people, or what?
Yeah, you just I don't know. Like I think you can be smart, but very like and get a return, but still like have a good experience for the people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just like you just have to do it in a tasteful way where it's like not forcing people to give you their emails, but like providing this experience that they don't forget without being like salesy. But you could still collect their information, and like people will naturally like purchase from you if you're like if you act cool, you know, like just be cool, you know.
I think no, you're right. I think throwing an event to bring in revenue immediately is kind of a weird move.
That's not.
It's like, yeah, I think of events as more as like a brand growth, loyalty growth, community growth type of thing, rather than like, let's throw this event to make X amount of dollars. I think maybe in the long run you will get that money back because you did make an impact, but to throw an event alone to make some cash, I don't know. It's kind of you're going into it with a weird motive,
right? Or even sponsor event to make cash.
Brand spend for the most part is just like long term. You know, you got to do it, but it may not drive revenue right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why it's maybe the right mindset is probably like, how do I put on something that just shows a ton of appreciation for super customers who are fans already? Like these are already people who've bought with me. They'll probably buy with me again. You know, a marketing cost that is relatively nominal to me, right? Like you don't want to sink, you know, half your budget for the quarter into this or whatever, but like a marketing cost that's relatively nominal to me to just give them like a really great like a core memory associated with my brand is probably worth it. And even if I can't track how worth it is, you know, it was kind of like, we can just kind of decide, yeah, that was probably worth it. I think that's probably the right mindset at first, right?
I like the idea of like your brand throwing an event and then finding like one or two other brands that align slightly. Like if Dad Gang and like Dad Gang and Cuts did a thing, makes sense.
And
if Dad Gang and Chomps did a thing, makes sense. Dad's like meat sticks.
Wait, I'm getting like I think I'm getting like a memory. Didn't you guys used to send stuff to the ghost office?
I think so. Yeah. The ghost team was awesome.
Yeah, I think that we and I didn't pay attention because it was before the like women's line, but I remember when you guys came out with the women's line and I was like, finally, I can like be with the cool kids. And I did order I like the like women's like business type like line, and I wear it all the time. Cool. And by the way, I had to contact customer service. A really, really great experience. So
that's a huge compliment. Yeah, from Zoe, she's very critical of CX.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Easy.
Cool, Steven. Hey, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for talking tariffs. Thanks for talking.
Sorry about the phone issue and
all good. You know, you're welcome to come back anytime to talk about other topics besides tariffs. We're also interested in other things you have to say.
So much.
Where do people follow you? Where do you want to be followed?
At Stephen Borrelli on Instagram or Twitter, or at CUTS or Cuts Women. DM me. Actually, my DMs are open now. They weren't open before the viral tweet on Twitter.
Yeah,
I like Twitter the most for like B2B stuff.
Yeah, and you know, buy some cuts, support.
Yeah, buy some cuts.
As usual,
their jogger cargo pants, unbelievable, like unreal. I bought a pair. I got 3 more. It's the best pants you can wear.
Or the girls, the tanks with the ribbed. I don't know the name of them. Like amazing.
Yeah. Well, geez, now I feel like I have to say a product.
Well, any guys here in LA, where are you guys based? Bart, you're in Seattle still, right?
Bonnie Lake, but yeah, we can call it Seattle.
I'm in Arizona.
I'm in Utah.
What part of Arizona?
Right by Scottsdale, North Phoenix.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys know the drill. All of the handles for all the hosts are in the description. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all of the things I always ask you to do. Or whatever channel you listen on, what the people say to do there, do that. Right. I'm not going to go through all of it, but just do that. You know what they say to do. Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Great episode.